Good morning. We also thanks Jane to share. And um, sometimes we come here and see, oh, our church is not big. But it is so precious in God's eyes. Okay? And let's hope that we see this body of Christ as glorious building place for our Lord. So today is 12th, the second week of this new decade. Last time we talked about New Year resolution. I don't know if you guys have discussed it in your small group to come up with some good New Year resolution in line with what we talked about. But today we're going to start a new series talking about the theme of the year. The theme of the year is celebration. When we talk about celebrations, sometimes I was actually in the process of translating into Mandarin. What is celebration? Proper translation of celebration, God. I don't know. Some of you have very good comments, of what celebration God should be translated into Chinese, into Mandarin. Some of the culture lack certain vocabulary. It's like when I grew up, I learned that I'm actually a Hakka, Hakkani. And Hakka doesn't have, I don't know, maybe Michael can correct me if I'm wrong, that Hakka doesn't have the words called thank you. There's no thank you in Hakka. And that actually is, I don't know, Zach is of Hakka, right? We don't have the word of thank you. And it turned out to be, it's a replacement. It's thank you. Say, oh, how thoughtful of you. Right? And to say, I don't know, right? But it's like different. We don't have it. And when I came to the United States, when I see people sort of express condolences, saying, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I don't understand, why would people lost their loved ones and you are obliged to say, make a mistake or something that you're sorry about? And I learned these things, and this is kind of a side talk, but what I'm trying to say is that celebration is not a common or very popular vocabulary in our everyday life, isn't it? Right? What's a vocabulary in our lives usually? Work hard, win, right? and celebrate when we accomplish something. Oh, we have received something. We have think something that is truly wonderful. We don't usually celebrate. We go for next target, isn't it? And that's pretty much of our life, that we have one step at a time, because through the span of our life, we have, go to school, get good grades, get to work, marry children, and they have their school, they have their work, they have their marriage, and then grandchildren. Each step, do we really celebrate? So this is a thing, okay? There's so much we need to celebrate, and celebrate is a command from God. That's very interesting, okay? So let's use this passage in Deuteronomy 16 to explore first, okay? Celebration. God actually commands us to live a life of celebration. Not, gnashing your teeth and puff it up and persevere. That part is true when suffering comes as well. But even in suffering, celebrate. There's celebration of life that's given by God. Celebration, we found out that, hey, the number one reason we should celebrate every day is that we have a good God. Okay, that's the number one reason we should celebrate. Okay, so verse 16, God says through Moses, okay, observe the month of Aviv, and celebrate the Passover of the Lord of your God, because in this month of Aviv, He brought you out of Egypt by night. First of all, we found out that it's a command. This is a command from God. Okay? And because He knows our nature. He knows our nature is to move on to the next better and greater thing. Move on to the next satisfaction without really celebrate what's being given us. And this is the one thing, the first thing is that observe the month, is celebrate the Passover. You know what Passover is, right? The Passover is that when in Exodus 12 actually described when Israel was delivered from the slavery of Egypt. God basically sent His judgment and say, firstborn of Egypt, God will pass over the homes who obediently put the blood of the lamb on the frame of the door, and He will pass that judgment. So it's not that He go into every household and say, oh, so-and-so, are you a good citizen? Yes, then I will let you live. But He said, who has the Lamb of God on the frame? And regardless who lives in there, what kind of sinners, doesn't matter. But if you believe in God and His command, and you put the Lamb of God on the frame door, then I will pass over. And that's, God has been consistent. Even today, that's His deliverance of His people is through His own blood. Okay? His own, God the Son, Jesus Christ, blood on the cross is the thing. So this is something we first find out is God, He's a good God. He's worthy of our celebration. We forget that when we live, the way that we can live, that we can work, the way we can relate, all these because that we have a good God who created and sustained and redeemed us. Right? And we need to celebrate. And actually, God make it a command to celebrate. And it is not that He need us to celebrate too, which we celebrate Him as a good God, but we need to celebrate. We need to celebrate. We need to see what God has done in our lives and celebrate all the time. And actually, every day there's a reason to celebrate. And it's, if you come in every Sunday, it is all the more the reason that we stand up and sing songs and thanks to the worship leaders, lead us to great worship songs, and we celebrate. Okay, so first thing we found out is God is a good God and worthy of our celebration, and He commands us to celebrate because He deliver us and provide for us. Deuteronomy 16:13 says, I celebrate the festival of tabernacles for 7 days after you have gathered the produce of your threshing floor and your winepress. So the Jewish people were, the Israelites led to the land of promised land, land of milk and honey, and the crops grows and produce, and they were harvesting after threshing, the grains and the floor. We need to celebrate His provision as well. Okay? So this is like this is 7 days is happens in the Jewish month called Tishri. Okay, it's a ceremonial month, and this feast is a time to rejoice God's provision and His deliverance from Egypt. From Egypt's slavery, He brought His people to the promised land, and and God says that celebrate that. Celebrate the goodness. Celebrate the provision. Celebrate the deliverance of me. And so, in the following passage, we want to find what it talks about the three ways. The three ways to celebrate. First is we celebrate with rest. Okay, that's interesting. First thing is that we celebrate with rest. Second thing, we celebrate with joy. And third thing, we celebrate with gifts to God. Okay, so those are three things. The first thing, celebrate with rest and peace. When God commands His people to celebrate the feast of the tabernacles. In Leviticus, it has more details. He says that after you have gathered the crops of the land, celebrate. Okay, that's a command. The festival to the Lord. You not celebrate to yourself. You celebrate to the Lord for 7 days. Okay, the first day is a day of Sabbath rest, and the 8th day also is a day of Sabbath rest. Wow! When you think about celebration, some of you have a lot of kids, right? You just went through this Christmas, Thanksgiving. It's actually probably one of the busiest time of your life, right? You have, the mom's side relative, father's side relatives, this gathering, that gathering, and there's friends, right? And you're very busy, especially you're the head of the household. You need to prepare this and all that. But God says that you celebrate. You start with Sabbath rest, and you end with Sabbath rest. Your celebration should be first celebrate in rest and peace. Okay? It began with, like I said, first day, and the 8th day also a Sabbath rest. Okay? Keeping Sabbath is celebration. Think about that. When you think about celebration, and we have all the people dancing, right? Joyful, leaping up. But, a true expression of celebration starts with rest in the Lord. Think about that. The true celebration starts with rest and peace in God. And that's God's command. The 4th commandment, right? The 10th commandment, the number 4, keep the Sabbath. The first 3 all talk about, honor God as the only God. The 4th commandment, the most important after you honor God as God, is keep the Sabbath. Okay? And God knows that we need a Sabbath. There are several ways that we know that we need a Sabbath. First thing, we need to know God is God. That's why we rest. We are not God and making all the plans. When God says, you rest, and we rest. When God says that you rest in what I have done for you, then we rest in what He has done for us. When God says that there's nothing to worry about because this is not for you to worry about, then we rest. We trust God. Right? We first trust God, and we, trust enough that we can rest in all circumstances. Maybe we're on a trial, maybe we're lacking this, maybe we are deep worried about something, maybe there's so many tasks and chores to do, but you know what? Sometimes the rest thing is not about their work to do. Okay? Sometimes the rest thing is your mind. Our mind need to be rested. Okay? Especially in modern days, our mind is constantly being stimulated, triggered, move, or all the new things coming in. I'm bored. That's actually a lot of people would say to you, right? The 21st century epidemic is boredom, because we are so used to new information, a new way of things that are coming to us. But God says, trust me and celebrate me with rest and peace. So that's the first thing. Celebration. It started with rest, started with peace in the Lord. Okay? When we can truly rest in God, we are doing a great celebration. are celebrating God's power in us, the guidance of the Holy Spirit, the salvation of Jesus Christ. And we submit to the Lord that we can rest. So that's the first thing. And second, God commands us to celebrate with joy and sharing. 14 says that be joyful at your festival, right? The Feast of Tabernacle, after harvest. You and your sons and daughters, your male, female servants, and the Levites, and foreigners, and fatherless, and widows who live in your towns. For the Lord your God will bless you in all your harvest, in all the work of your hand, and your joy will be complete. Okay? A lot of times we come to celebration, we don't feel joy. Okay? So sometimes we come to Sunday, Jane shares that there's a lot of family thing, it's body of Christ, a lot of task, but it's not fulfilling the task, because fulfilling the task is not joyful, right? Fulfilling the task is really not joyful. But when we see that there's a reason, behind all the tasks that we do, and there's this joy that comes in, and we are actually being given the joy of the Lord. It's very interesting. The first thing is that be joyful. That's a command. Okay. So we a lot of times first command we be restful. We tend to work more we want than we want. We tend to want to get things more we control. And this is that be joyful. Means that a lot of times we're not joyful, right? We go to festival, we're not be joyful. So how to be joyful? Okay, it says that these people need to be joyful. You, okay, and your sons and daughters. I don't know. Sometimes it's a command that we need to share our joys with our sons and daughters, so even though we don't quite understand them, quite on the same page. But you know what? It's important that what God has blessed you with is to be shared with sons and daughters. Okay? And then, of course, let's include the entire family, right? Share with your family with the joy. That God has blessed you with a harvest. And your male and female servants. Wow. At that time, if you work, if you own a piece of land, and there's a male and female servant serving to the labor work, and come up with the harvest from the very beginning, from sowing to pruning to harvesting, all these things. They're servants doing that for you. Okay, it's very interesting because in ancient cultures, there's no such thing called holidays. There's no such thing called day off. Okay? There's no such thing called PTO. Every day is working day. Some culture in this world still works 365 days a week. Have you seen that? Especially some of the restaurant work, right? Some people still work 365 days a week. A year. And in those cultures, in ancient cultures, there's no such thing called break, especially for the servants. If you're a servant, you're a slave. You have a master. And God actually, come up with command. How do you treat fairly to those slaves? And some people say, "Oh, God condones slavery." No. God is trying to bring the kingdom of heaven to human societies without truly intervene in a sense that you need to dictate how people should live. But in whatever come up with, God says that the slaves, your male and female servants, they need to take first days and 8th days Sabbath as well. Not only that, they are to share whatever you put on the table as celebration of the harvest. They are equally important as the masters. That is a groundbreak, ground-shattering new command. So in the promised land, all the foreigners are very surprised about this new group of people. It's called God's people, Israelites. They come in. Okay? Of course, they're powerful, but at the same time, they have, most surprising is two things. One, they have a very excellent laws. Even they cannot deny. The law cares about women. That's unheard of. The law cares about the servants. That's unheard of. It's a society that who has the money, has the power, has the possession, has the power, can do anything. They can even at will kill a servant. That's acceptable. But does God's law change all that? That's how you should treat your servants. That's how you should treat your wives. How you treat even somebody had nothing to do with you. Foreigners. Okay? In our times, we look at this and say, wow, foreigners. They do not speak the same language, do not think the same way, but God wants us to bring them also to the festival and to celebrate our God, our provision of God with these people, the fatherless and the widows. In that society, if a man died, it's a big deal, because there will be orphans without father, there will be widows without husband, and they will not have the means to survive because there's nobody to provide for them. It's not anybody's obligation to provide for them. There's no social welfare, okay? And a lot of things is restricted for women to work by themselves, and the kids are young, and you don't have a name, okay? And so God says that in these festivals, be joyful, share everything. Share everything that God has given. And you invite those people that, not on the high society, your servants, or the Levites. I forgot the Levites. The Levites are the priests, okay? The Levites don't have land, so they don't have harvest. You have to know that. Everybody's celebrating, and the Levites, the pastors, not supposed to celebrate because they're not given any land. Okay? This is what happened in that time. And so all these people, you are to share your harvest with them. And sometimes you think, oh, that's easy. I will just write a check, and he'll do this and do that. But you know what? What's more important, what's harder these days, I think the previous days as well, is that do you have a relationship with those Levites? Do you have a relationship with those foreigners? Do you have a relationship with the fatherless? Do you have a relationship with the widows? If you don't, they don't even dare to come, right? They say, oh, hey, free food, all come to eat, celebrate. They will not come. They don't know you, right? Who knows that what kind of mind that you have when you invited them for this? But if you have relationship with them, you have relationship with the foreigners who is struggling to get on their feet, to feed their family. And you have relationship with the fatherless. You have relationship with the widows. Okay? Friends, people in need of all things. Some are some have physical needs, some have emotional needs. And all these people, if you have relationship and you are connected with them, and when you celebrate, they will be gladly coming, joining you to celebrate. Okay? And God will bless you and all your harvest and all the work you of your hands. Some of the work, some of the fruits not only come from the field, it's coming out of what you do. All these, God will bless you. And your joy will be complete. Your joy will be complete. Your joy will be complete only when you share. And your joy can be only complete when you share, only when you connect with those people that you share with. And God says that this is the command. This is the command I have for you. Be joyful, okay, because you're going to receive abundant. You're going to receive abundant life. And spread the joy. Spread the joy to those people. To your sons and daughters, to your servants, to Levites, to the foreigners, to the fatherless and widows. So that's the second principle. Celebrate with joy and share. Okay? So lastly, I want to talk about celebrate with the gifts of God. Verse 16 says, and no one should appear before the Lord empty-handed. Each of you must bring a gift in proportion to the way the Lord your God has blessed you. Now, sometimes we think this monetary as necessary to hold up a structure, to pay the bills for the home, right? Even as a church home. But more importantly, it's a command from God. God says that no one should, this is the man representing the household, appear before the Lord in these festivals empty-handed. Okay? And what is the principle of bringing gifts? Each of you must bring a gift in proportion to the way the Lord has blessed you. When you're given more, you want to give as a gift to the Lord more. And that is also a command. And it's not that God needs more gifts. God is a master of gift giving, right? He gives all the good and perfect gifts. Right? But we need to give God gifts. Because when we don't give God gifts, we all think that's all ours. We don't give God gifts. We think that everything I earn, I deserve it. Everything God blessed me is for me. Right? We don't, and we don't have this habit, this culture of celebrating a good God, celebrating the provision and deliverance of our good God. When we continue to be blessed more, we can be less grateful. And God says that that's not going to cut it. That's not going to be good for you. You are to bring a gift whenever you come to see me in proportional to our God. Bless you. Keeping a heart of thanksgiving. Okay. So this is how we started the year. We celebrate. We celebrate a good God because everything that God says, after you live long enough of His Word, live on His Word long enough, you'll find out all His Word is good for us and people around us, our families, and who work for us, who's good, who is actually less privileged around us. All these will be God's blessing through us to them. And when doing that, we will be benefited. We will benefit from God's command in celebrating Him, celebrating His goodness, celebrating His provision. So remember the three things. Celebrate with, first, rest, recognizing what He has done. Okay? Celebrate with joy and sharing. Okay? Celebrate with gifts to God. So when we started the year, we will continue to talk more, and we can use another passage in Nehemiah, talk about a lot about celebration, and let's make this year a year of joy and celebration. Let us pray. Lord, we want to thank you for your goodness. The more we read, the more we live, we know that you are good God. There's definitely challenges in life. There's worries that we can put our minds in. But God, thank you for your command for celebration. Celebration. You command us to rest. You command us to be joyful, to share, to give. Thank you for all these commands, because with these commands, we can really live a life, a good life, and knowing that this is just a foretaste of what we're going to live in eternity. And we thank you for giving us this clear revelation of how we should live our days. Thank you, Jesus, for making all these things happen.